So as I got through middle school and high school, while I was in middle school, I was very like weary on making friends. I had no friends. Honestly, I had no friends. It was stupid. Um, I do remember having um, a couple of friends who were really good friends. They were nice. They were great. They were my life. Um, I grew up poor, like very poor. When my parents separated, whenever they were together, I had the greatest life. I had all the toys, all the Barbies, everything. Like my room was decorated like to the max. Like, but as my parents separated, it's just my mom. Legit, I my mom couldn't keep a job. Legit. We lived off of child support, which at that time was $400 a month. Um, the trailer we lived in, which was crap, and we basically stretched it. I stretched it pretty thin, and there were times we didn't have food. A lot of times we didn't have food. I didn't have any clothes that were great. um, and my mom would, try to when it came school time, she would definitely make sure we had the clothes that we needed, the shoes that we needed. It was back when we had like I don't know if you're like I don't know if it was just a Texas thing or what, but there was like this place. It was called like Wieners, and it had like a layaway plan. So my mom like every year would go put like shit on layaway, so me and my brother would have. And so it was quite quite an adventure when we would go because we would go like crazy like only get like all these clothes and these shoes. Like since I was never able to buy anything unless it was like Christmas or back to school, I made sure the things that I got made a fucking statement in who I was because I had no identity at home. I had no identity with family. I had no identity with myself and barely at school. But at least if somebody were gonna talk crap about me, whether it was my family or the people at school, I was gonna dress a certain way to give them a reason to talk those ways about me. Just how I am. So I always made sure they made a statement. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this and that. I'm gonna show you. And I'm gonna be the baddest bitch looking that way and acting that way because you say I'm these things. Hmm. I was I was kind of hot tempered when I was a baby. I still am, but I'm calmer. Depends on who you ask. Anyways, I had one friend. She was beautiful. I've seen her like on social media. She's beautiful. Beautiful. And for her birthday, I remember we went to a skating rink. And because that was our thing, we would go to the skating rinks and stuff when we were younger. And I remember I looked over and I saw this tall individual. And I was like, oh, who's that? And I remember like being like, what do I say? What do I do? Like, I gotta figure out like how old he is and all these things because he was like super tall. And well, I he said that he was like 15 or some shit. And I think at that time I was like 12. And then I was like, okay, I'm 13. Really wasn't. I was definitely not. I might have been 11 going on 12. I can't remember. But I was a young little bitch and I lied. I lied. He was hella fine, okay? So we exchanged numbers and I will never forget that day. That day I remember like it was yesterday. Because that relationship with this individual I really impacted my life tremendously. He was the first love of my life. And I got pregnant when I was 13. I had our son when I was 14. And then our parents were my mom was very controlling. So as I was in middle school, I was pregnant, and as I went to high school, I was a mom. The teenage mom. Ugh. And everybody talked a lot of crap and all these things and whatever. It was what it was. And even though people talked a lot of crap about, me being young and being pregnant, I never had let that sway of how I felt in becoming a mom. And especially becoming a mom to a child that I was carrying from a man that I loved tremendously. And that was such an interesting time because my mom had so much control over my life that I wanted him to be a part of it. And he did too. But our parents just really got in the way. He was a teenager too. My mom made it seem like he could have hopped in a car and just drove to our place and all these things when he couldn't. He didn't have a license. It was just whatever. I loved him. I really did. I still do. I really do. I still love him. And I wish things were different. He taught me how to love. He taught me how to trust. He taught me how to love unconditionally. Because the love I had with him, still to this day, I've not felt that kind of love. I've never felt that kind of trust. And I don't know if I ever will. Because I don't know if I want to. I gave a lot of myself to him. And even though we were young, it's like, what could there be? But I grew up in a home where my mom was verbally abusive. Her partners were physically abusive to me. My family was verbally abusive. My dad he neglected me half the time. Especially when he found out I was pregnant. He didn't have anything to do with me. And even though my mom called me all the names in the book when I became pregnant, she was really there for me. She really was. She controlled a lot of it. But hell, you know what? I wouldn't have been able to do anything without her. She took care of him, of my son. She loved that motherfucker. She loves that motherfucker. And she treated him like it was her, like he was hers. She really spoiled the fuck out of him. Really. She really, really did. And it was okay. That was her life. That was her life that I think that she missed out on whenever it became us. Like, I feel like I know she loved us. I just feel like the relationship her and my dad had wasn't authentic or genuine in order for her to really enjoy being a parent to me or my brother. But when it came to my son, that really gave her a lot of life and enjoyment back. And I'm glad that happened, in spite of everything. That's whenever when my son came, that's whenever things started to change with the relationship with my mom. And I was very grateful for that. I'm grateful for her for being there for him, being there for me. I still went to school. I didn't finish school, but I went and got my GED. She's the one that, really pushed me to do it. She wanted to make sure I didn't quit. But she also wanted to make sure I didn't waste my time. I knew that the Father wanted to be with me as I gave birth. But my mom, I was scared to tell my mom how I felt. So I said that I didn't want him to be there, when that was a lie. I wish I would have never lied about that. I wish I would have told the truth. I remember calling him from the hospital and telling him about it, my son being born, and he was excited. He wanted to come, but he said that his mom wouldn't take him. So we still talked a lot in between, but it was pretty distant because we went to different schools, and so we didn't see each other even at school. We only saw each other, every once in a while. But some of the things he's ever said and done for me, nobody else has done. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't change the relationship with my mom. I wouldn't change the relationship with the people at school, the people in my family, or the relationship with him, especially him. I've been through a lot, and even though I always try to look in the positive in them, because those are all just bad things that I've went through that I've overcome. And not a lot of people can really overcome half the things that I've been through before I was 13 years old. Or before I was out of high school, for that matter. Fuck. I feel like me saying these things from the time, this is just from high school. This is not out of high school. And this isn't even part, or maybe 2/3 of my life as a young person. There's so much more. But that's where I'll stop for my early life. And I think that that's enough for now. I think that's enough for now in my early life. And if y'all have more questions about it, leave a comment, and I will definitely really I'll answer any questions, and we'll go over any topics or anything that you might have. Just leave a comment and let me know, and we'll talk about them. We'll have these tabletop discussions, and we'll discuss whatever it is you want about family trauma, high school trauma, middle school trauma, relationship trauma. Fucking we're all emotionally damaged, and if you're not yet, you're gonna be in sometime in the future. I mean, I hope not, but I mean, it's an inevitable thing. So anyways, I will stop there about my early life. I will probably re-bring it back later, but now we'll stop, and we'll talk about different things. And I hope y'all enjoyed that. This last little bit of episodes, a little bit about me. So now things is kind of ripping off a band-aid, and we'll just move forward and see all the other discussions that I come up with, and that I know that I have really been looking forward to discussing with you all. So thank you for joining. As always, like, subscribe, and leave a comment.